For those of you who don't know us, perhaps you know Eva or remember her from earlier times when she was with the MBA as well. And for those who are connecting with the IEDC for the first time, it's very nice to have you online and also to share something around the DBA with you all. Just in terms of what we expect for today, I will just say a few words about the DBA, some of the focus areas, some of what you can expect regarding the DBA, and then give chance to Eva Eibel. You all had been in contact with arranging the connection to the session and all that. That if there are anything specifically related to admission and enrollment, that we can talk to that, you can talk to her about that then as well. And we specifically also shape this info session so that it is in the format of a Zoom meeting, so that there is an opportunity to discuss and share your views and ask questions, and that it's not a webinar or only a webinar as such. So without any further ado, let me just share a few things about the DBA with you. I just want to make this a little bit smaller so that I can see the screen as well. First of all, about our delegates from our candidates who are here, you will see that at the moment we already have 18 different participants, and spread over 4 years since the DBA started. We specifically and deliberately decided to move and also to focus our offering on the doctoral level, to focus that towards a DBA and not a PhD, and we will speak about this a little while later then as well. But the whole focus of the DBA relates to, now need to be sure that I am still sharing. Eva, am I still sharing? Because I have lost the presentation in my screen here, so I just have to get that back. Yeah, I think I will need help. Please, if you guys don't mind, I'll just have to see where is the... We'll stop sharing and see if we can find it again. I wanted to move it, but now the share screen is gone. Thank you very much. I hope, are you all back on screen and can you see the presentation? I'm sorry for the technology mishap, but perhaps a little bit about the focus of the DBA. It is focused on executives, and the executive experience is therefore critical and paramount for us. It is different than only theoretical and academic perspective, because we want, although it is a terminal degree, we want it to be focused around the needs of executives specifically. It still involves the creation of knowledge and the dissemination of knowledge, but the focus is on practical application in the end as well. And therefore, many of the participants and the candidates focus very much on what it will mean for them in their careers. Very few actually have academic careers in mind, but they rather want to use the experience of the DBA for some different purpose. Purpose in helping them to shape their own careers, maybe pivot into doing something else, or maybe just something related to legacy, or something related to documenting something that they had been involved with. So yes, it is about rigorous academic experience as well, but the focus is very much on practice and on application. Therefore, it is helpful for us to just make a distinction between the DBA and the PhD, as what you may perhaps wonder about or have thought about, even in considering the difference between a PhD and a DBA. Perhaps I should start right at the beginning to say that the focus of a PhD is to prepare anybody for an academic career. Make sure that you have the rigorous research and methodological, statistical foundation to enable you to go into an academic career. A DBA allows you space to do things relating to academia as well, but the focus is much more on being around managerial impact, about the fact that it is applied and that it works towards the benefit of the organization or the benefit of you, or in terms of how you want to shape your career. You would see that in terms of research orientation, the focus of a PhD is to go very, very deep on something very small and tiny, but in intense methodological rigor. While on the DBA allows for more focus into practice, more integrative, cross-disciplinary research to link the complexity of business to an academic procedure. Both of them require a dissertation, thesis as an output, but also both of them, or maybe in our case, the DBA, also allow you to do that if you would like to do that via publications. But the focus is much less in the DBA on academic output or scientific academic output, but more on a research output. Now, for instance, in a PhD, you would have to publish your research in a scientific journal, actually even more specific, not just any scientific journal, but on some that is on a very specific lists of scientific quality. While for a DBA, we require a research output. Now, that research output could even be a book, if you would like to write a book or a monograph of some sort, or if you would like to go the publication route anyway, the scope wherein you can publish is broader, or you can just go to an academic conference, a peer-reviewed academic conference, and once you publish, your research is presented, it gets published in what is called the citations of the or proceedings of the conference, and if it is in the proceedings, that is then sufficient. I already mentioned the fact that there is difference in depth, because the focus is on using something very specific to be able to use and solve a particular problem in the DBA, while in the PhD, it allows you and requires you to be knowledgeable about a variety of methodologies to enable you to go into the world of academia and supervise people, supervise your own students that come from different methodologies. I mentioned the fact that it is much more practice in terms of the output, and then also that the difference is that if you focus on being an aspiring academic or a researcher, somebody in that, the PhD is probably closer to you, but if it is about you, like most of you are already senior executives with long journey into business, that gives you the chance to rather do a DBA. So why then the IEDC? Perhaps very first is that those of you that have been around would know that the focus of the DBA here is on strategy and leadership. And we pick strategy and leadership for a very specific reason, because we know and believe that both those disciplines are at the pinnacle of the business education hierarchy or the pyramid thereof. All the others are disciplines that you can easily find in other departments and other parts of a university as well. But the integrative and the fact that the strategy and leadership allow you to work interdisciplinary and use an integration approach, that's the strength of strategy and leadership, and therefore our PhD is also designed around that. Now, that doesn't mean that some of the DBAs work and want to work within very narrower or much more focused disciplinary environments. That's just natural. So you can perhaps work and want to work on the impact of shareholder value, or maybe something related to finance, or maybe even something related to IT or technology. But you are always asked as part of the DBA to lift that into impact around leadership and strategy then as well. I mentioned that a lot of the DBA is focused around your own personal needs. It allows for a variety of things for why we want to do a DBA and what the impact of the DBA, a doctoral degree, is on our own personal identity, but also aligned with our own personal and career aims. It's focused on perhaps leaving something on a doctoral level, but on a way in which it allows you to leave a legacy and build something that is of academic value and impact value afterwards as well. Now, just a little bit about the layout. Perhaps you are aware of some of this, but just for us to be on the same page, the DBA is structured to have two very clear components. There are coursework, modules, content, but there's also a focus on research where you will be required to then write a thesis. The coursework is completed in the first 2 years. 4 modules in the first year, and then 2 in the third semester, the first of the second year. And then the last semester of the second year is focused on a research seminar, focused on finishing your research proposal. And then the last 2 years of year 3 and 4 are then dedicated to your research and to finishing and completing your dissertation. The impact, the focus of a DBA is similar to any terminal degree on the fact that you have to work individually and show independent research. But we know that you cannot necessarily do that on your own. Therefore, we assist with using and employing internationally acclaimed mentors, people within your field of interest, people that has got academic track record, but also people who are prepared and willing and understand the dynamics of what the DBA is different than also as a PhD. And a second way in which we support is that throughout the 2.5 years from the end of the first year and a half, we also have some research seminars, some of them compulsory as your time goes, where you then present your progress, share some of your views, learn also about research of the other candidates in your cohort. And as a matter of fact, not only your cohort, but all of the 18 in the program then are invited to present where they are, and we learn from one another, and we also help one another very specifically. Talking about the layout of the program, the taught courses, as I mentioned in year 1, the first 2 of them is what we call the content courses. That's leadership and strategy. I spoke about that before. And then in the second semester of the first year, the 2 methodology classes, qualitative and quantitative. And each of these courses lasts for a full week. So you are expected to come for a full 5 days to the school, where we get academics from different parts of the world to teach this according to their own area of speciality. In the second year, we have 1 elective. That elective, we try to broaden the scope from different parts of the globe, and also what people think is going, or academics think is going on as contemporary issues in management and leadership. So we just this past year, we had somebody from Australia, somebody from India, somebody from Latvia, somebody from Australia, somebody from the UK, 5 different strategy and leadership academics who each have 1 day of lecturing in an online format. And that then allows you to get various perspectives from the field, from the discipline, but also from a geographical nature. And the second course that is critical in here too is a compulsory elective, or a compulsory elective, I should say, meaning that it is about academic writing. Now that helps you to position your research, to make your research also palatable for on the academic level that is required, but very importantly, it allows you to then, as the final part of that module or the exam of that course, to have a research proposal that we then can use and take that into asking and ensuring that you get a mentor that is willing and familiar and also an expert in that field. And then, as I mentioned, in years 3 and 4, you do the research with your support of your mentor and supervisor, and also during the research seminars. Next intake starts in September. Start with leadership, and in November or late November, it is a strategy. As I mentioned, those first two that we start with. Some people, and I may say this, we also allow entry in different parts of the year, so you can start with leadership because that's the best entry point, because you start with a cohort, you start with the content, you get to know what's happening in the field, and then that helps you to face or then to take on the quantitative and qualitative methodologies later on. You can, however, also start there, but that's just a little bit more difficult. Some of the faculty, you will see they come from all over the world, from the Netherlands, the USA. Professor Boysen, leader academic writing. Professor Borgman, the first one there, quantitative methodology. So too, we have Albrecht Fritsche and Catherine Mischlein, both of them involved with qualitative research methodology. Peter McKiernan is a professor of strategy that helps us with research seminars. And Nick Benedel teaches the strategy course. And I already mentioned that as part of the elective, we have 5 different academics that each then take a single day as well, and they also come from across the world. As part of the network, those of you who've been around will know that it comes from many different ones. There are also around the world 17 different alumni clubs that you can form part of. Once you are part of the family of IEDC friends. Finally, to do the study is a privilege. It's absolutely a huge opportunity to take the chance to be able to have the ability even to say that to work on this level is something that is only the privilege of a few. But it brings with it responsibility, both in terms of how you contribute to your field, how you also acquire the skills to work on a level of a terminal degree, on a doctoral level, and then the responsibility to actually make a contribution as well. And of course, there are always people that support, those close to home, those in different parts, and also those as part of your careers and others of your stakeholders. And finally, it gives you a chance to leave a legacy, to build a contribution, whether that is in science or in practice. It gives you opportunity to make a contribution on an academic level, also to document things that are important and have been important in your career. Perhaps I can just finish this as well and discuss something around the application process, and then if there are anything more, we can ask you to ask questions to Eva later on. Basically, what is required is the second level Bologna degree as well, and therefore a certified copy thereof in English preferably, or you can do that in Slovene, but please then also translate that, mainly because accreditation bodies and other oversight bodies sometimes prefer that to be in English. We need 3 letters of recommendation. Most often people use people close to them from their careers. Others use academic connections out of their past. And then 2 very important parts. One is a preliminary research proposal. Now, this is not an extensive one, and this is something that can change. But this is for us to know that you have given the whole process of what you want to do some sufficient thought, and that it is something that is doable within the space of this DBA being on strategy and leadership. So basically, we talk about a 2, 3, 4-page document that basically just documents a few things. One, what is the problem that you would foresee? What is the area that you would like to work in? Maybe it is something related to, I want to know how leaders are influenced by AI or the advent of AI. Or maybe it is something related to how can my company be more sustainable or more focused on stakeholders? Just an idea of a problem. Second important thing is to say, but what is the field you want to work in? Maybe leadership and strategy is broad enough, but perhaps you have already an idea that I want to work on transactional analysis within leadership, or I want to work on resource-based strategy. Maybe that's something that you've come across in your career and want to use that very specifically. So the second thing is the field you want to work in. Third thing is, what is your tentative view relating to the methodology you want to use? In this case, probably just sufficient to say I want to have a quantitative one. I want to do some numbers and calculations and variables and correlations and all that. Or I want to work as a qualitative. I want to write the case, or I want to discuss things with people. I want to survey people in terms of having one-on-one discussions, and that will give me my answer. That's the third thing. And the fourth thing is, what is the empirical field that you have in mind? What is the sample that you want to work with? You want to work with Slovene engineers, or you want to work with European bankers, or you want to work with people in the steel industry, or whatever the case is. That is all that is required now. For the rest of the program, the rest of the first 2 years, actually, or nearly 2 years, the program helps to shape you into a proper research proposal that you then can defend. For now, we just need something to get your ideas and your views about why this is doable, so that you can enter in the program and get it shaped, aligned with strategy and leadership. And then also very important as a second part of the reason, motivation, and what you want to do is a motivational letter. Basically, that also helps us to know, but what do you want to use it for? You want to use it as an academic career, or you want to use it as maybe an associate or assistant or adjunct faculty later on, and teaching part. You just want to do this to shape your career and change different things. Or you just always wanted to have it and it'll be part of who you are, whatever. And then for us to give an idea about why you want to do that. And then, of course, finally, also a CV. You can be sure that that as part of the process, once we received all these documents, then a standard practice, we also have an interview where you come and have a chat with me if you want to. And we also use that to explore some of this more, so that you feel comfortable that when you enter, that it is something that is doable and that you can deliver. We are also accredited as a school, equals the International Quality Authority of Seamen. And the bottom one is probably more important and more directly relevant to you, in the sense that our DBA is one of a very few, not even 15 DBAs that are also accredited by the Association of MBAs, which is the largest accreditation body in the world that accredits particular programs and not necessarily institutions. And together with a couple of the other schools in this association that are always also accredited, we joined forces, and we have also published a booklet to help us understand the difference between the DBA and the PhD more. But this is one of the most prominent accreditation bodies, and the only one that focuses directly on the DBA then as well. That leaves me, brings me to the end of the discussion, or my presentation, if you want to call it that. But I'll gladly take some questions or comments and discuss anything further, or if you would like to come for a chat even before the application process is complete, you are more than welcome as well. But for now, definitely opportunity for you to have some questions, and Eva and I can see if we can answer some of those.
May I ask, can you hear me?
Yes, Urban.
Compared to the level of education, if you compare it to Bologna studies, what kind of, do you get a 8.2 degree or like a 10 degree education after you complete the DBA like you would with the PhD?
Yeah, that is a good question, and I forgot to discuss it when we had that two parts. The whole DBA and the position of the DBA in terms of legal terms differ across the world. There are some jurisdictions in other parts or other continents that allow that on the same level as a DBA and also regard that as a degree. In Europe and in Bologna, it is not regarded within and aligned with the legal requirements. So you get a certificate that is registered or backed up by the accredited body, AMBA, but it does not at the moment count as something related in the legal next level Bologna degree. There is no equalization regarding to that. But be that as it may, for now, there is on European level quite a lot of discussion and lobbying to include that, because even in Europe, there are countries, for instance, France, Luxembourg, and even some parts of the lower lying countries that allow that and regard that similarly, but it's not yet integrated into the Bologna system. Hungary is also actually Hungary is the very first country that approached the EU to say that this is now time for us to do this equalization, but it's not that there yet. So you don't get a formal degree. It's not a formal degree. Some other questions? Tatiana, I see you already have a Harvard shirt on. I mean, we'll change it for the IEDC.
Yes. So my question is, one of the three, is if we have had something like, again, not the degree, but like post Master of Science specialization at some other universities, for example, me at Harvard University, which is focused and which was focused on leadership and strategy. Exactly. Is there a chance that some of those things can be like recognized, or bled is like just okay, you have Harvard, good for you, but we are bled, and so we do not want to mix anything there?
Okay.
Because I'm coming from Bosnia and Herzegovina, so ex-Yugoslavian country, in which you can, wherever you study anything, you can come to the university here or anywhere else, and then they recognize you some different
yes.
modules, subjects, whatever.
Yeah. No, I know, but that's also a very uniquely individual case, a case by case study. We, as a matter of fact, just in this past week, dealt with an applicant with a very similar case from somewhere else, where that question was raised about, because it brings two things in play. One is, what is the level of the degree in a relation then to the traditional Bologna system, where
Mhm.
at the moment we require a second degree or a second level Bologna system. So we need to check and feel comfortable that that aligns with that level. And then also to say, but what is then the policy of recognition of prior learning, and whether that what you offer is something that is aligned with the content and the learning outcomes that are required on a doctoral level, and
Mhm.
whether that can then feed into that. Because it may be true that it is Harvard, but
Mm.
Harvard also has got two components to that. There's also the formal component, the academic university, but on the other end, there is the executive education branch. And I use this now by way of an example, not necessarily to deal with your case, but to illustrate the difference. So if it is something that comes from Harvard as a formal degree, that's easy to check to say that, yes, this is on a particular level and we can recognize that. But if it was something that comes from Harvard Executive Education, that is kind of like best to explain something like an in-company program or something to that effect, then it may not be that it is delivered on the level of a second degree Bologna, and that it can directly be translated. So it's very individual, but we are open and willing to look at that. And then also to then share with you what then will be required to get that part or that qualification to the level what we require, maybe with some extra reading or maybe attending some classes or part of the classes or some of those things. So yes, it's possible, but it's not just a cookie cutter kind of like an answer to each case.
Okay, thank you. My other question is if we do have all diplomas and everything in English, so we only like scan it and send it. Is it valid, or we need to go to the university and ask for them for a hard copy or something?
I'll ask you
Yeah,
that.
if I may. Well, what we would need is a certified copy of your highest degree.
Okay.
It can be in English or in Slovene.
Okay, thank you. And my third question is if we are not sure about the exact focus within DBA studies, when we are sending you the proposal and everything, if we have several topics or if we have several fields which are connected to strategy, leadership, etc., but they are not exactly clear.
Yeah.
So that is one of the reasons why we actually want to go on DBA, so make things clear in our heads where we want to go actually and when we want to arrive. Is that a problem, or that is something which we need to discuss before we enter actually and make it clear with somebody who is, for example, Eva or you, Drikus, or somebody else? So is it like part of the DBA process that we
No.
are making our heads clear, or is it something which needs to be done before?
No, that's, I think, a significant difference between the way in which we approach the DBA compared to some other PhD programs where you have to have kind of like a very clear idea up front of what you want to do and you are tied to that. We don't have that approach. We say that we want to use, or let me start different. We want to feel comfortable that you gave it sufficient thought, that you have the ability to work on a particular level, and that it is something that is doable as a research project within strategy and leadership. That's what we need to feel comfortable with.
Okay.
And we use that merely and purely for admission purposes, to know that that is the space that you're capable of working on that level. You can come and change something completely. As a matter of fact, nothing stops you from after the year and a half to say that, you know what, I wanted to work in this, but I now realize I want to do something completely different. It is very often that it happens that people come here with an idea of what to study, and then they just find that there is a completely different world opening up to them, and they change and they want to do something different. That, I think, is par for the course. However, when I say this in terms of this 2-3 pager that we want for the admission process, make sure that when you write that, you pick something and use that and focus and direct your attention and the way you approach the process around that, rather than say that, yeah, I can do all sorts of those things. Eventually you will come back to something as well, but you will also be exposed to something more. But for now, it is a matter of saying that, yes, we know that this individual have thought about what is a research problem, has identified something, has got the ability to identify something within the field, and has got the academic ability and also the conceptual ability to apply his or her mind to that, and to say that, yes, I want to solve this in a particular scientific process. And that's what we would like to see in the application part of the proposal.
Okay, I was particularly interested, and this is the last, not the question, but just the notion. When you said transactional analysis in leadership, because I am a transactional analyst, like psychotherapist as well. So it is possible to mix and match other fields as well.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely, for sure.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm
Yeah.
sorry for bothering you so much, but
no problem whatsoever. Somebody else with a question? I see we still have 5 on the line. Anybody else likes to ask a question? If I can invite you all, if you want to have an individual discussion with me or with Eva, even before you apply or during the next month or so, it will have to be on Zoom, I guess. If it's not next week, if you want to catch me here at the office and at the school within the next week, you are welcome to pop in for a coffee. Otherwise, we can have an individual one-on-one just to help you to wrap your mind around something that you have your mind around. If not, good chance to get the application process rolling. Make sure that you get all your documents in place. Stay in touch with Eva, so she will help you also to make sure that you have everything that is needed. And then I hope to see all 5 of you in September.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.